We've talked a lot on this channel about Order 66 and the clones that either disobeyed it or probably would have disobeyed it. There are many independent-minded clones that we've argued probably would have removed their inhibitor chips if they were made aware of them, as Rex did. But there's another part to that question. Would those characters have then gone on to turn against the Empire? For the vast majority of clone characters, the answer is no, including for many of those clones that probably would have removed their chips. In this video, we'll be taking a look at why this disconnect exists.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
In a pair of recent videos, we've discussed what we call the Imperial mindset and the Rebel mindset, a choice of paths that many characters have found themselves at over the course of the galaxy's history when faced with the reality of war. Many people, as we mentioned, went with the Imperial mindset, choosing to cut moral corners and supporting authoritarian, unilateral authority. Some others, like Rex, went with the Rebel mindset, seeing the reality of war and choosing to do what's right anyway. But there's a third outcome that we neglected to mention during both of our prior videos, staying at that moral crossroads and doing nothing. Such was the outcome for many characters, especially those who, forced to make the choice, probably would have adopted the Rebel mindset. When it comes down to it, it's really hard to see how messed up war is in detail and then stick to doing things the cleaner, harder, and often less efficient way. This is the path that all those clones that we think would have removed their chips but wouldn't have fought the Empire would have taken, and for various reasons. Let's take a look at a few different situations in this category. A perfect example of a clone that came close to the right path but stopped short was Commander Cody. Watching him in the Clone Wars, he seems like he'd be one of the clones that would be most likely to rebel against the Empire, but he didn't. In fact, he ended up training new generations of stormtroopers. Cody executed Order 66 without hesitation, and while you can blame this on his inhibitor chip, he showed absolutely no sign of regret at any point afterward. So what held Cody back? Well, the answer is loyalty. Cody was fiercely loyal to the Republic, and when the Republic became the Empire, he continued to support it with the same fervor. This was the case for nearly every clone in the Grand Army of the Republic to some degree, and that makes sense, as it's also depressingly common in the real world. After all, even today, people will make excuses for deplorable acts committed by their countries on the basis of patriotism. So can we really look down all that harshly on the clones for doing the same thing? There were also cases where clones made the right choice, more or less, but then didn't do enough. Wolf eventually made the right choice, which is why he joined Rex and Gregor on their own little rebellion in the years after the Clone Wars, but unlike with Rex, this choice didn't mean much, and it probably came later. This ties into another factor, which was also the case for a whole lot of characters. He probably just didn't see the need until later. After all, to the clones, the Empire wasn't really evil, especially not at the start. It was more or less secret that the Empire was being led by the Sith, and aside from the name change and all, it was hard for the clones to see where the Republic ended and where the Empire began. There was no sudden spike in military brutality with the declaration of a new order, and no massive shift toward the military becoming evil. That shift had already begun, and it had been going on for 3 full years. Indeed, once the reconquest of the Rim ended, there was actually less military brutality going on under the rule of the Empire than there was during the rule of the Republic. Combine this with the fact that the Empire treated its clones better, and you can start to see why the choice didn't even occur to many clones. In all these cases of missed rebel opportunities, there's one thing that probably underwrote all other factors in these decisions: apathy.
So you will do nothing? Apathy is death, worse than death, because at least a rotting corpse feeds the beasts and insects.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death. Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Statement: apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death. Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Most clones just didn't care enough. which again is pretty realistic. Many of those that came to see the truth of war rather than being drawn toward the moral path or the cynical path just didn't care. And of those that did care, most of them made another choice entirely. Many clones who seemed like they would be close to making the right choice instead went right in the opposite direction. The path of the imperial mindset, of moral shortcuts and unilateral authority, is an easy path to go down, as we talked about in our video on Alpha 17. And that choice isn't purely a matter of good or evil, mind you, which is why many characters that look like they're on the right side, who look like they're heading toward the rebel mindset, end up making it. Take Commander Bly. Bly, from what we see of him in the Clone Wars, was a pretty chill guy. He seems like a good candidate for the rebel mindset, but instead, he ended up going full Imperial, which Order 66 gave us a good glimpse of. But even without Order 66, it was fairly easy to see that he had made that choice. The comic Star Wars Republic Armor, which was issue 68 and also marked the first appearance of Phase 2 clone armor, was narrated from Bly's perspective, and the whole story of the Battle of Honecker is a great insight into his character. In Republic 68, Bly tells the story of a mission he undertook with Aayla Secura on Honecker, when they worked together with Quinlan Vos, Sakura's former master, who had at this point fallen to the dark side, to steal a crucial piece of hardware from a local Rakuten temple guarded by the native Nogri. Bly was wary of Vos the whole time, which was understandable as he was a known agent of Dooku. Sakura trusted Vos, however, which seemed to be the right choice, until Vos turned on her and Bly after escaping the temple. Sakura unsuccessfully tried to turn Vos back to the light, but Bly just shot at Vos and was successful in driving him off, probably saving his and Sakura's lives. This anecdote highlights another aspect of why it was so easy to go down the Imperial path. Oftentimes, it seemed like the sane thing to do. After all, who wouldn't just open fire on an enemy Dark Jedi when they had the opening instead of trying to sway him back to the light? But that, of course, is cutting a moral corner. Vos was swayable, and Sakura was able to bring him back to the light at a later date. Bly didn't see this, however, and the mindset he had sunk into made his choice clear. Vos was an enemy of the Republic, and he was about to kill Sakura, and he was to shoot first and ask questions later. It should also be noted that, to clones, Order 66 presented this exact same situation. They had no concept of light or dark side. To Bly, the difference between Quinlan Vos and Aayla Secura was that Vos had been officially labeled an enemy of the Republic. When that became true for Sakura as well, he did exactly what he did when faced with Vos. When Order 66 came through, Bly opened fire, and he learned from the mistakes he made on Honecker too. On Felucia, he shot to kill first and asked questions later. Another factor that probably led many good-hearted clones down the Imperial path was the same factor that led Commander Cody to the path of apathy, loyalty. Take Commander Gree for example, without question. In this sense, Gree and other clones were actually predisposed to the Imperial mindset. From birth, they were indoctrinated to succumb to authority, to follow hierarchy without question. This lined up quite nicely with the idea that the galaxy should be run from the top down by a decisive and brutally efficient single figure of authority. So that's why very few clones ended up working against the Empire, and as per usual, I want to know what you guys think. Which other clones do you think had a good potential to defect, but just never did? In my opinion, Commander Doom was one of those. Even though he didn't have that much screen time, there are a lot of indications that Commander Doom could have been one of the clones that defected, and I actually do have a theory of that on my channel, which I'm going to link in the end screen, so make sure you wait for that. And just before that end screen, make sure you check out all the links in the description below if you want to join the wider Geetsly's community on our Geetsly's Gaming Network and our Discord. And just as a quick update for our Geetsly's Gaming Network, our Roblox is currently down as I'm actively looking for a new and qualified project manager who's experienced in Roblox. So if you are, make sure you hit me up on Discord and we can work something out. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.